what's the deal with the GLP-1 meds like Ozempic and Wegovy?
My official opinion is that if you do not need it, meaning that you do not have a indication to be on one of the drugs, then you probably shouldn't be on it.
I have friends that look like
Wegovy.
me and are
And
taking it.
I went to a brunch the other day and none of these bitches ate.
You know, people that weigh 115 pounds and just don't want to eat a cheeseburger, we need to be careful there because there are some side effects. People are essentially like starving themselves. They're ending up being nutritionally deficient.
Our society has an obsession with skinny.
Not healthy.
Right. To the point where they will compromise their health to be skinny, but they're actually less healthy.
I'm really excited about this first episode. Chances are, if you're listening, it's because you follow Tiffany or myself. But for those of you that are new here, we want to introduce ourselves. I'm Dr. Nicole Martin. I am a born and raised local Miami girl who's an anesthesiologist, mother of two, and recently was a castmate on the Real Housewives of Miami for 3 seasons. And that's actually how I met Tiffany, who was also a castmate of the Real Housewives, but of Dallas. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
I did 1 season on Dallas back in 2020, which aired in 2021. And I think you were basically being interviewed to join the Real Housewives of Miami when they brought it back after their very long hiatus. And she slid into my DMs, y'all.
I did, like a creep. I messaged her on Instagram and I was like, hey girl, I know you're an anesthesiologist and you were on the Real Housewives. What's the deal with the show?
Yes. And I think I was putting my kids down for bed and I was like, oh, this is not a text conversation. We're going to need to talk. And I was like, here's my number. Call me in 30 minutes and I'll tell you everything I know.
And I think we spoke for 2 hours that day. And we obviously instantly hit it off. We're both moms. We're both anesthesiologists. We both still practice medicine.
We're both married to lawyers.
We're both entrepreneurs. And we were both Real Housewives of different franchises. So we have a lot in common.
Yes.
Which I think makes us the perfect pairing for this podcast.
Yes. People are always asking us for advice. And it's very difficult for us to give advice on a 60-second Instagram or TikTok video. And so we wanted the platform to be able to talk more in depth and answer the questions that our fans always ask us.
Absolutely. And, you know, every time I feel like people hear about a new podcast, they kind of roll their eyes and they're like, oh, another podcast. And I get it. There's a lot of content out there, but I still find myself sitting in the pickup line or waiting for a meeting, looking for something to like listen to. I still don't feel like I have that perfect podcast that fills my cup. And that's what we're hoping to bring to you guys. A little bit of entertainment, a little bit of education. And I think us being physicians makes us really well suited for that.
Yes. And we want this to be a conversation like you're having with your 2 best girlfriends. You know, we want it to be entertaining, not too serious. We hope to make you laugh a little along the way. But guess what? We still have a scientific take on things. So if there's a medical myth out there that we need to bust, we're going to do it.
Yeah. All my girlfriends, should I or should I not be on Ozempic? We're going to talk about it. What's the truth about Botox? We're going to talk about it. You guys want to know how you juggle or struggle with balancing mom work life? We're going to discuss that. Raw, unfiltered truths with a twist of science.
Okay, so with that intro, let's dive in to our tea time. This is where we're going to talk about a little piping hot tea that we've had and give you our hot take on it.
And tea time, guys, is completely raw and unfiltered. It might be a personal confession. It might be a little celebrity gossip, maybe a behind-the-scenes beauty secret or a great fashion find, or even a show recommendation, because I'm always looking for something to watch.
Okay, I forgot what the tea time was.
Do you have one, Tiffany? Do you have any tea to share?
I need the paper.
No, there's no paper. You can't cheat. This is personal tea. Drop some, girl. There's nothing on my paper.
Oh my God.
That's going to help you.
You go first. I have no piping hot tea.
So I'm going to share a little celebrity gossip.
Oh.
I don't have a lot of this, but while we were in Aspen over the winter, I did meet a very popular silver fox cowboy that is from a very popular TV series known as Yellowstone.
Oh.
And I have to say, girls, that man's energy, he walks into a room and it is like the whole room like stops breathing and looks at him. Kevin Costner is so handsome in real life and is so like nice. He walked into Bad Harriet, a bar in Aspen, no security, nothing, went right up to the bar, asked for a drink, like a completely just normal person.
And he didn't get bombarded, like
Nobody
swarmed?
stopped him. Nobody took photos. I was so tempted to ask for a photo. I
You're
was
like,
like
"Oh, don't
really
do
tempted
it."
to fangirl, and I don't fangirl over many people, but I just think he's so handsome. And Anthony was like, "Don't you dare take a photo of that man." But I was very surprised that like nobody, it was a private party, so I feel like he knew a lot of people there.
Mm.
But he walked in with his cowboy hat, his boots on, major swag.
I mean, I've never seen Yellowstone. I don't watch much TV. I
It's
don't
so
have
good.
like I can't pay attention for that long, but I do know of it. I don't live under a rock completely. But my Kevin Costner memory
The
is The
Bodyguard.
Bodyguard
Oof.
with Whitney Houston, where he's like carrying her like off the plane or
Yeah.
something.
He
And
was
I was
hot
like,
then and he's hot
this
now.
okay, explain to me why men get hotter when they age, but apparently when we cross some arbitrary age, 40, 45,
Girl, it
50,
better not be
whatever,
40.
like we're done. Like explain to me how Harrison Ford is hot, how Brad Pitt is hot.
Sean Connery's hot and he's like 90.
Ew.
He's hot.
I don't know who that is.
Oh my goodness. I'm going to show you a photo when we finish. But he's like a very elegant man. But on that note, guys, Kevin Costner, the swag you see in Yellowstone, it is not for camera. That is him in real life. It is very impressive. Even Anthony is like a dude's dude, was like, man, he's handsome. He looks great. So that's my tea, ladies and gentlemen. The swag is real. I'm Daddy Costner.
I have no recent celebrity gossip, but one of my friends is a purser who is like the top flight attendant on Emirates. And she often has celebrities riding an Emirates. They have this two-decker plane. There's like an upstairs and a downstairs, and the plane has like a bar where, it's like a 17-hour flight. And you can like mid-flight get up and go to the bar and like chill or whatever. So she has celebrities in first class on this plane all the time. And so I was like, okay, girl, tell me the tea. Like which celebrities are nice and which ones are awful. And she told me that there is a musician. I said, who is the worst guest you've ever had that was just like rude beyond belief, demanding, all this stuff? So it's a female musician. She's a rapper. It's not Cardi B.
I feel like I'm playing charades.
I know. And should I say who it is, or is that
I
bad?
don't know.
Well, apparently,
Give like an obvious clue, like Yellowstone.
boom, ba boom, boom, baby, that song, you know?
Mm.
Oh, my anaconda don't.
Oh, yes. I know that one.
I'm not good with music or movies. Like, this is the wrong game for me to be playing.
So why is she so rude?
She said she was absolutely rude, demanding, like wanted things brought out. They were like, ma'am, we're taxing right now. We can't start the food service just yet. You'll need to wait. Like they said she was awful.
I don't get that.
I don't either. And that's why it reminded me, because when you said Kevin Costner walked in and he was like cool or whatever, I always feel like the bigger the person is, the cooler and more personable they are. And then the people that show up with like 4 security guards trying to like prove something or be someone are the like more down the list celebrities. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't know, because I feel like I've heard like some crazy celebrity stories, like people with these like lists of things that they want in their hotel room, like their sheets to be like ironed and like random stuff. But to each his own.
Yeah, I recently had a speaking engagement and they were like, oh, send over your writer. Like, what kind of refreshments, what brand of water do you want in your green room? And I was like, oh, just regular water is fine. Like, Ozarka is fine. Fiji, whatever. And, whatever snacks you have, I'm probably not going to eat right before I speak because I'm super nervous. And they were like, you were one of the easiest speakers to deal with. And then I was talking to like the coordinator of the conference, and she was like, you would not believe people showing up with these like 6-page writers demanding all these things, and then they don't even like
Did they
eat
do
the
that
snack.
for you while you were on the Housewives?
Yes.
So like when we were going to film our confessionals, the interviews, or we're going to at reunion, we have these long days. They'll ask you, what do you want in your dressing room? And same, I'm like, I just want some water. I want a banana because I feel like that's easy to eat. Some protein bars and like a yogurt and granola.
Yeah.
Like the most simple. I don't even like specify brands or anything. But some people, girl, some people
I
need
know.
like specific liquor with sliced lemons or oranges or whatever the accoutrement of choice for their beverage. Like
Yes.
some people get really down to the nitty gritty on what they expect.
I mean, I love that for them that they know what they want so specifically because I'm pretty chill. I'm like, I just need a little protein, some water, some alcohol, maybe.
It's funny. We're like particular about certain things, like our shoes and our bags. And then other things we're like, oh, just give us regular water.
Yeah, we'll be fine.
Well, on that note, we have been teasing on our social media that we have this upcoming podcast, and we asked our followers to send us topics, questions, things that they wanted us to discuss. And we got responses, a lot
A
of
lot, like
responses.
300 responses. Yeah.
And they were all over the place. Some people wanted to hear about health topics, skincare, beauty, motherhood, relationships, romantic friendships. And believe me, a lot of people also are very curious about the Hermes game. I
Yeah.
screenshot that too, and I was like, oh, we have to do an episode about this.
We're going to do a whole episode about the Hermes game, and I
We
hope
will, guys. We
they don't
promise.
kick me off the list after
I thought
we have
about
to-
that.
Like,
after we exposed their
I'm not
secrets.
trying to get in trouble with Hermes. I worked hard to be on that list.
Yeah, very hard. But point is that we love your guys' input, and we're super excited to answer some of these questions. If we don't get to your questions today, we promise to keep asking and going back to you guys for ideas. So make sure you follow me at Dr. Nicole Martin and Tiffany
At Tiffany Moon MD.
and make sure you follow the podcast. Hit follow below if you're on Apple or Spotify so that you never miss an episode and you can help us grow our podcast. So the first question that we got a ton of from our followers was, what's the deal with the GLP-1 meds like Ozempic and Wegovy?
Do you want my doctor opinion or my normal person opinion?
I want them all because we are normal people that are doctors. And I do think that the opinion varies, guys.
Yes. My official opinion is that if you do not need it, meaning that you do not have a indication to be on one of the drugs, then you probably shouldn't be on it. With that being said, I have several friends that are using it off label for weight loss because, well, okay, let's back up a second. All of these drugs, they're GLP-1 agonists, GLP-1 being a receptor that you have in your body, and these are just peptides. They're actually not medications. They're peptides that are naturally occurring in your body that cause a feeling of satiety, which means that you feel full. And they delay gastric emptying, which means that, you know, instead of food coming out of your stomach over the span of 6 to 8 hours, it's slowed down to 12 to 18 hours. So you stay
basically you're
fuller
not
longer.
hungry.
You're not hungry. Your stomach is full, and therefore you consume less food. And at the end of the day, I don't care what anybody says, but your body habitus is a reflection of intake and output. So what do you put in your mouth and how much energy do you output? Do you work out or do you sit on your butt all day? And so the drugs were originally intended for patients with diabetes who needed to lower their A1C. And actually, when they were doing the clinical trials, they were like, oh, your A1C is lower for sure. And the patients were like, and I lost 20 pounds. And they're like, huh? And so the pharmaceutical companies got smart because they're smart. I mean, they like to make money. And now there are certain medications like Wegovy, which is tirzepatide, which specifically has the indication of weight loss. But you have to have a certain BMI or a comorbid condition and all these things. But even if your BMI isn't 35 or whatever the limit is, I mean, I have patients with BMIs that are like 25 and they're
I have
taking
friends that look like
Wegovy.
me and are
And
taking
they're
it.
taking it. I went to a brunch the other day and none of these bitches ate.
I believe it.
I was over here with my salmon. I was like, you gonna eat that cornbread, you know? And I ate. And I mean, like half the table did not touch their food.
Yeah. So I'm on board with Tiffany in the sense that I think that these medications, by the way, are relatively new. I think the first one was
Yes.
and it came out in like 2005, which compared to some medications that have been around for 50, 60 years, it's relatively new. And then some of the newer ones like Wegovy came out like 2015 or 2017. So there are relatively new medications. They were obviously put out with the intention to treat diabetes, and they discovered that they also cause weight loss for the reasons Tiffany explained. If you are overweight, if you are a diabetic, the medications are great. They do what they do. The problem becomes when people are getting these medications prescribed and they're taking them without being monitored,
Right.
right? Like they are just dosing whatever they feel like at home. They're getting it from a compounded pharmacy. A physician isn't monitoring it. And now what we're seeing the downside of things. They do have an increased risk of thyroid cancer. So you need to make sure that you don't have a family history before you start these meds. And people are essentially like starving themselves. They're ending up being nutritionally deficient. And now we're seeing significant osteoporosis, which is leading to like really weak bones. And people are having pathologic fractures because they're not eating enough. We're seeing changes to the skin. We're seeing hair loss. We're seeing, some negative changes because people are taking them without regular follow-up.
Yes.
So I think if you're going to take them, make sure that you are following up with a physician, make sure that you're meeting at least your nutritional requirements, that you're not dropping weight to the point where you're having these deficiencies. But I am interested to see the future of the drugs because there's a lot of studies showing other benefits. So we
Yeah.
know it's sugar, helps with your blood sugar, helps with weight loss, but
Yep.
there's some new studies that it may help with dementia.
Yep. There's
And
a new
also
study for
fertility. Patients with PCOS.
Yes, which we can talk about Ozempic babies in a minute.
So people with PCOS are showing that they're having improved fertility. So I think that there is certainly a place for these medications, and I think they can be great drugs when they are used correctly. But people that weigh 115 pounds and just don't want to eat a cheeseburger, we need to be careful there because there are some side effects.
Yes.
Pancreatitis and, bone, loss of muscle. And
Sarcopenia,
yeah.
loss of muscle. And the problem
And guys,
is,
we're getting older. Well, by we, I mean me and Tiffany, because
we're all
40.
getting older.
You
But
need to eat protein because you're going to
Yes.
start to lose muscle mass as you enter into menopause. And it's
Yep.
like this constant struggle between eating protein and making sure you're meeting your nutritional requirements and then taking this drug that doesn't allow you to eat. So just be careful, guys. That's my personal and medical
professional take. Yeah, no, I agree with everything that Nikki said. And the thing is about when you're on it, you don't feel hungry. So then when you do eat, you can basically eat crap and still, quote unquote, be skinny because you're eating so little that even if it's a cheeseburger, you're not going to break the bank, right?
Correct. You're having
So
1,000 calories, which is still below your daily limit.
You're still going to lose weight, but it's like crap food that's ultra processed. You're not getting your vitamins. You're not getting enough vitamin C. You're going to get scurvy like sailors on those boats back in the olden days. And the other thing is when you restrict your calories and you don't eat well and you don't exercise, now you're losing lean muscle mass. So it's
you're
not
skinny
just fat.
You guys, there is this thing called skinny fat. It is. It's a real thing where you're skinny but have like no muscle mass, and that's not healthy. It's better to be healthy than to be skinny.
Correct.
They are not one and the same.
They are not one and the same. I recently just made a reel about this, and our society has an obsession with skinny.
Not healthy.
Right. To the point where they will compromise their health to be skinny, but they're actually less healthy. So like Nikki said, if you have an indication to use the drug, then by all means, and that'll be physician supervised. But if you just want to use it to like lose a little weight or get your summer beach bod, be very, very careful. These clinics are opening up everywhere. You can like drive by a clinic and get a stab of semaglutide.
Anyone will call in the prescription to a compound pharmacy. It'll get delivered to your house and you just administer. There's no one supervising the
it
dose.
Yourself, like,
it's scary.
And they're not without side effects. I mean, I've seen people get real sick, nausea, vomiting, pancreatitis, a hospitalization. So just be careful out there and be an informed consumer.
Correct. And on the topic of healthy diet, we did get a lot of questions about our nutrition and our fitness plans. And do we follow a trend or specific diet? So curious, Tiff, like what's your take on it?
No, I've never dieted. This is so bad. Like, when I was in my 20s and early 30s, I think I was skinny fat. I guess I was just blessed with, like, a high metabolism, and I tend to be on the go all day, so I ate a lot of fast food, junk, candy. I love gummies, and I was
Ew.
always skinny, and so I just thought it was okay, you know what I mean?
Hmm.
And then in my 30s, when I was like, "Oh, I should probably lift weights and eat more protein, eat more fiber," but I've never followed a specific diet. And now I do what I call the 80-20, which is 80% of the time I try to eat healthy. I try to eat whole grains, vegetables, high quality lean protein. And then 20% of the time, I'm not going to lie, I go to McDonald's and Chick-fil-A drive through with the kids and have a piece of birthday cake, because
I
you
mean,
do
it's
have
fine.
to
You have to live
live life a
life.
little, right? I'm not going to be one of those people that like doesn't drink and eats 6 egg whites for breakfast. Like, it's just that doesn't seem like the kind of life I wanna live.
So, unlike Tiffany, I have always been super health conscious and very much into fitness, probably because I'm also a little vain and I like to look a certain way. I'm not scared or sad to admit that. I have done a lot of, I wouldn't call them diets, but eating patterns, right? Like, I think when keto became very trendy, I was like, oh, let me try this. Cause, sometimes carbs just don't sit well in the stomach, especially here, like some of the stuff that's really rich in gluten just doesn't digest well. So I tried the keto for a little bit. I think I've tried paleo where I just focused on more, like hunter gatherer type diets, nuts and protein and whatnot. And then I even did like whole food rich stuff. I did Sakara for a while.
Oh, yeah.
So like I've tried a lot of different eating habits over the years. And what I find is that all of these fads or trends, they're not really sustainable. Because it's like you're gonna be on a keto diet or this diet, and then you're gonna go out to a restaurant, and it's like you can't find something maybe that fits into whatever diet you're trying to follow, or you're at a kid's birthday party, and like life happens, and it's just not something that I found to be sustainable. So now I'm very similar to you. During the week, Monday through Friday, I eat really clean. I meal prep when I'm going to work. I try to eat a protein heavy diet, start off my day with at least 30 grams of protein and just like a lot of natural unprocessed foods. I rarely will eat something that comes out of a box.
Right.
Just like natural salads and nuts and whatnot. And then on the weekends, I go to dinner with Anthony and I have a glass of wine and I'll have a bowl of pasta, and it's all about balance for me.
Right. It's fine. I don't wanna live that kind of restrictive life where I'm at a party and I'm like, "There's nothing I can eat here." Like, that's just not what I wanna do.
Right.
Oh, but I did do this thing called the Prolon 5-day fasting mimicking diet.
How did you like that? Because I'm sorry, that soup and that powder, 'cause I'm telling you, I try it all because
Yeah.
I also like to be like,
I've
have
tried
conversations
No,
with people.
I will try anything twice usually. So
Yeah,
I've
that
done
soup with the powder
Sakara.
was
I
not
did
my
this
thing.
other one called Methodology that was actually really
Oh,
good,
that's
but
the
it
one that
was
comes in
so
jars, right? It
expensive.
comes like
Yes.
in jars. I've
And
seen
the
it.
jars are really cute, and their little puddings are really good, and they give you apple cider vinegar to drink before your things.
Hmm.
So I liked Methodology, I liked Sakara, but it was like not sustainable, and it was kind of pricey.
Yeah.
And I didn't love like every meal that came. I liked, like, 70% of the meals that
Right.
came. Okay, but I did the prolonged 5-day fast. It's basically a box, and it's soup mixes, and then once in a while you get like some olives and like
Or
a
some cardboard crackers.
cardboard crackers. And then there's one dessert, which is like a little chocolate crisp bar that's about the size of like 2 Kit Kats. My daughter ate it. She was like, "Oh, I saw it on the counter, so I just ate it." And I was like, that
I think
I
that was
was like, "Mommy's allowed to eat 700 calories per day, and you just ate like 100 of them. Mommy's gonna starve to death." But no, it wasn't that bad. Like, day 1, you're like, "Oh, this is easy." And then day 2 and 3 was the worst.
There's supposed to be a lot of good data behind the
Yes.
Prolon diet.
No, there's all this research. I, like, pulled up a couple of papers.
I just didn't
It's
like the soups. They're just like a
No, I
powder
mean,
you
there's
mixed in water, and it
yes, and they're
was
lumpy, and it's like there's a pea flavor, there's like a curry I mean, it's literally soup, but it's at least something. At least it's like not fasting where like you're not taking anything in but water, and they let you have as many herbal teas as you want. So I drink
yes.
like 4 cups of tea, and the whole basis is that it creates autophagy, which at a cellular level like increases your longevity. I don't know. Am I gonna live longer? Maybe. Does it balance out the 3 margaritas I had last Saturday? Maybe, but I tried it and it was
Yeah.
fine.
The point is it's all about balance. You know,
Yes.
you do a fast, you have some margaritas.
Yeah.
That's life. It is
Yes.
what it is.
Yes.
What was another question that we got a lot of that we talked about?
A lot about like how do you manage it all, right? Because you are an academic anesthesiologist, you have young children. I know your son just turned 6 and you have a baby at home. You run a business, you're on social media, you're a beloved TV personality. Like that's a lot. That's a lot of bullet points under your name. And people want to know, how do you manage it all? Do you have some secret sauce that you can share with us?
The answer is I don't. and anyone who
Damn.
and anyone who tells you that they do is probably lying, because the truth is that there's only so much time in a day, and some days I'm killing it as a mom. My son, I spend a bunch of time with the kids. I take them to, do something that they enjoy. And then that day, I didn't get back to a work email. And, I think it's all about balance and giving yourself grace, because you can't be a great mom, a great entrepreneur, a great anesthesiologist in 24 hours, because there's just not enough time in the day. So I try to focus on what's most important that day and get that done. And then I give myself grace if I miss bath time because I was on a work call, or if I missed an email because I took my son to the beach. You can't do everything at once. I think it's more about balance and giving yourself grace.
Yeah, no, I love that. And I also would add to that that I am very intentional with my time. I do not wake up in the morning and think like, "Oh, what should I do today?" Or I'm going to do like my calendar looks crazy. It is blocked out in 15-minute increments, but I have time for self-care, meditation. I get a lady that comes to my house once a week to do my blowout because I hate blow drying my own hair. My arms feel like they're going to fall off. And so during that time, I'm on the computer answering emails. Carpool takes about 30 minutes every day. There's like 100 SUVs parked outside my kids' school. And during that time, I take Zoom calls or I'm
Yeah.
editing TikToks and Reels. Like, I don't just sit around and like la di da di da di
No, you
da.
have to be. When you have so much on your plate, you have to be intentional and strategic. What needs to get done today? Prioritize what's important, make lists, have calendars that are color coded and tabs and
Yeah.
all of this crazy stuff. Yeah, you have to be that way. But you also have to be okay when something doesn't get done, because
Yes.
otherwise you'll drive yourself crazy.
Yeah, I think the giving yourself grace is good because there are going to be things that slip through the cracks,
You
like,
guys, we've been talking about doing this podcast for over a year, and we just finally were like, okay, there's this gap in our schedule. We're going to get it started and we're not going to look back.
well, honestly, it's we, in full transparency, we filmed a couple of episodes via Zoom, but we wanted to start the show off with a bang. And Zoom, as lovely and convenient as it is, there is something to be said for like
Yeah,
face to
it
face
feels better.
interaction. Yes, and I can see you, and while I'm talking, I can see you nodding and your body language, and we just wanted to start the show off with a bang. And I incidentally was coming to Miami anyway because the University of Miami graciously invited me as a visiting professor to give grand rounds.
So, guys, not only is she 1,001 things, a book author, a mom, a businesswoman, a reality TV star, an anesthesiologist, but she's also a visiting professor at the University of Miami. She will be lecturing at Grand Rounds tomorrow to about 150 anesthesiologists. And this is actually not the first time that you come and give a lecture to us.
Yes,
This is
I
what, your
did it,
third or second time?
my second time,
'Cause you
and
did
I've
the obesity talk.
Yes, yes. I have a couple areas that I focus on in anesthesia. One is providing anesthesia to patients with morbid obesity because they have increased airway difficulties, pulmonary complications. And then my other area of expertise is neuromuscular blockade. I think we just put all our listeners to sleep right
Yeah.
now
I'm going
talking
to
about
toot her
anesthesia.
horn because they sent me her CV because we have a dinner tonight. And I opened it and I scrolled and then I scrolled and then I scrolled and I was like, holy crap. I was like, how long is this girl's CV? It is impressive. Like,
I just
I think I'm pretty impressive, but wow. girl.
I thank you.
It is.
I'm just a big
You
nerd.
are.
I love doing clinical research and mentoring and teaching medical students and residents,
I
and
think
I
that's
think that's
wonderful.
what the CV reflects, that I have a true passion for academic anesthesia.
And on that note, the passion shows when you give a lecture and when you see your CV. But when people ask, 'cause, I think we're both fortunate enough to have partners that are very successful and we have a very nice life in terms of the things that we have. I'm sure that people ask you often, why do you still work? Why do you burn yourself like to the ground? Why aren't you like more often with your kids? And I always respond to that I think it's important to set an example to them to find something in life that fills your cup and that you're passionate about. I love anesthesiology. I love taking care of patients. I like the way I feel when I go to work and I make a difference. When a patient's in pain and I do a nerve block and they wake up and they're like, I feel amazing. That makes me feel good. I like helping people. And I think it's an example that we have chosen to set for our children that they should strive to find that in life.
Yes,
Like,
yes.
it's easy for them to like, marry someone and stay home. Like that's like
Yeah.
an not an easy choice, but it's a different choice, but this is also an okay choice.
Yes, and to each their own, and I'm not knocking women who
At all.
marry wealthy men and then choose not to work. That's very common.
And being a stay-at-home mom is hard. Sometimes
It's
I'd rather
very
go to
hard.
work than
Yes, work is oftentimes much easier than staying at home.
yeah.
I love my children more than anything in the world, but the truth is I don't want to be a stay-at-home mom. Like, especially when they were young and they were, napping a lot of during the day, I still felt that I could go to work and come home and spend quality time with them. And I
Yeah.
don't think it's like I spend 8 hours with my kid a day and change every single
Correct.
diaper,
It's not a
therefore
contest.
I'm a better mom than you. You know what I mean? I still went to work, came home, and then spent time, on the floor playing with my kids, taking them to the park, doing all those sorts of things. Because I've worked so hard to get to where I am and be an anesthesiologist. And I don't want to give that up. Like I want to do both things.
And I agree. And so to the people who asked us, how do you balance it or how do you deal with mom guilt? My answer to that is I think it's a lot about your perspective and your mindset, right?
Yeah.
Like if you set you're going to work because you're passionate about work and you're setting an example for your kids and going to work makes you a better mom because when you get back home you appreciate the time with your kids more. I don't think you'll feel that guilt because look, I have friends that are stay-at-home moms and they're so annoyed and aggravated because they're stuck at home with their kids that they're just like give the kids a tablet and they're like on their phone. But because I go to work, when I get home at 3 or 4 o'clock, I haven't seen my kids all day. I am so like laser focused on them that I have really good quality time.
Yeah.
So for me, being a working mom makes me a better anesthesiologist, makes me a better mom because I appreciate each facet because I get it in limited doses.
Yes. And the kids see us working hard and not just being a doctor, but, now I have a book coming out and they were there at the summit.
Congratulations. Joy prescriptions, guys.
Woot woot. And I think I'm setting a good example for my daughters. Like I want them to see that when you have something that you're passionate about, you have to work hard. And some days would I rather stay home? Yes, I would. But I see like them looking at me doing the hard things and then them learning that they can do hard things too.
Absolutely. So it's all about mindset, guys, and that perspective with the mom guilt, I think.
Yes, for sure.
You know what's amazing? Dads don't have dad guilt.
I
don't
know.
like
There's no such
is there a
thing.
gene that we have that
And you know what? Dads
why?
don't sit on podcasts and get questions like, how do you manage it all? You run a corporation. You're
No,
a
that's not a
dad.
question. And
You
we're
play
not judging
golf
the
on the
questions, but guys
weekends.
don't get
How
asked
do
that.
you manage it all? And it's like they don't. I mean, we do.
That's why they don't get questions. But no, the dad guilt's not a thing. Like Anthony could work late, have a dinner, maybe go 2 or 3 days where he gets home at 8:30 and misses the kids. And like I don't think it's like a thing in his head that he's like,
No.
"Oh, I haven't seen my children in 2 days."
No. I had a conference in January that I was so excited to go and speak at, but because of the LA wildfires, they decided to postpone it. So I was going to be gone for 3 nights. Well, my husband decided to, fill those 3 nights with, work
Events.
dinners, right, which includes, like, going to the steakhouse and drinking bottles of wine, but
Correct.
it's a work dinner because it's his bank or a lender
Oh,
or a
yeah, yeah.
potential
We have to
investor in the hotel.
nurture this bank relationship.
Correct.
That
Which there is some truth to that
I
because some deals are truly made
I
with
know.
relationships like that. Okay, but my conference got canceled. So then I'm like, oh, I'm not going to LA next week. I'm going to stay home. He still went on all his work dinners. I stayed home with the girls. And I was like, maybe you should cancel like, 1 out of the 3 or something to stay home now that, my conference got canceled. And he was like, no.
Yeah.
And I was like, don't you feel bad? You're like not going to see the girls at all this weekend. And he was like, no.
Yeah, it's I don't know, there's like something that's missing. I don't know if it's hormonal or a gene or what it is, but here we are with the mom guilt. So I think changing perspective and the narrative you tell yourself will help with that.
Yes, it's the narrative you tell yourself. If you tell yourself, I'm missing out, I'm a bad mom, I'm not there for my kids, then that becomes your truth. If the narrative you tell yourself is, I'm setting a good example, I'm following my passion, when I do spend time with my kids, I'm not on my phone, I'm truly present with them, I'm making great memories with them, then that's the story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mindfulness, mindset, all those things. I mean, they sound like such cliche words,
I know.
but you guys, I promise you, they make a difference. Like waking up the morning, starting with gratitude, setting a purpose for your day, planning things out, like all of those things, they really do, I feel like, make a world of a difference.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like in my 20s, like I didn't care about mindset or whatever. I was just kind of like,
Cruising.
yeah. And then like I would say mid 30s is when I started doing a lot of introspection, self-help. That's also when I started seeing a therapist.
I love me a
Um,
good therapist.
Oh my God. I started seeing a therapist and then I told my mom, and we're Asian immigrants. She about chewed me
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
out.
She's like, what's wrong with you? Why are you seeing a therapist?
She was like, you pay how much? And I was like, it's like $200 an hour. She's like, what? You pay 200? You pay me.
You're
I
like,
talk
no,
to you.
you're the reason I need therapy.
Correct. She was like 200 and she was like, and you go every week. I was like, yup,
Twice a
if
week,
I
Mom.
can, if I can. Yeah, she was. So that's, self-help books, therapy, podcasts, introspection, mindset work. And I feel like in the last 5 years, like I've really evolved as a person.
I'm right on board with you.
Yeah.
And so this is what we're gonna do, guys. This is our first episode of Scrubs and Stilettos. I think we've given you guys a good taste of all this stuff we're gonna talk about.
Yep.
Make sure you follow us on social media. Hit the follow button on Apple or Spotify so that you don't miss an episode. And we'll catch you guys next week.
See you next week.